Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Balaclava broadcast. The screen that you can see here in my sunglasses is literally just a Word document of notes, not ChatGPT. Today's episode is going to be all about ducks, hence why it's called Ducktionary, very punny. And we're going to start off with some duck facts. So, migratory ducks, like the northern pintail, they can travel up to 9,000 miles in a round trip. They've got built in navigation systems. So they use the sun, the stars, the Earth's magnetic field, landmarks. But yeah, 9,000 miles in a round trip. Interestingly, not much information about ducks' noses and sense of smell, but hopefully one day. Secondly, ducks have like a little hole near the back, near their tail, and this is called their uropygial gland. They dip their beaks into it and they smear the oil all over their feathers, and it's basically their ducky lube sort of thing, and it gives them instant waterproof protection. Ducks are one of the very few animals in the animal system that can literally sleep with half their brain awake. This is called unihemispheric slow wave sleep, and basically it means that your left brain can take a nap while your right brain is working. So the left brain sleeps while the right brain is looking out for any sort of danger, things like that. My last and favourite fact about ducks, well, it's not favourite, it's just interesting and it's fucking typical men. So, male ducks, particularly mallards, they've evolved to develop corkscrew shaped genitalia that extends up to half of their body length. This is because female ducks, they got so sick of the forced mating, they evolved fake pockets in their reproductive tract to basically stop the male ducks from getting access. So males evolved their own twisty tools to try and beat the maze. So there's about 120 different duck species across the world, 120, and pretty much all domestic ducks. Duck breeds derived from the mallard. Exception, there's only the exception is a couple of the Muscovy breeds. Mallards are generally monogamous, but domestic ducks are polygamous. Domestic ducks have no territorial behaviour and they tend to be less aggressive than mallards. We're going to get into their aggressiveness in a little bit. And here's my top three interesting ducks out of the 120 ducks. Firstly, we've got the torrent duck. So they live in the Andean white waters. Repeat, they live in the Andean white water rivers. Their webbed feet and their streamlined bodies help them cling to rocks while they're raising their chicks in the raging water. Your average mallard would not last 5 minutes with these ducks, so fair play to them. Secondly, we've got the pink-eared duck. Of course, it's Australian, it's weird, it's wonderful, and it has neon pink ears. It filter feeds, so its pink ears aren't just its most important part. It filter feeds with a spinning tongue mechanism, so it creates actual whirlpools to suck up microorganisms. So it's basically part duck, part washing machine. And now it's time for me to get emotional and talk about my favourite ducks ever, the Stuttgart. Well, white the Indian runner ducks are one of my favourite ducks, but they're just not that interesting. Stuttgart ducks are incredible. When we talk about Stuttgart ducks, I'm not talking about Stuttgart, Germany. This was very confusing for me when I went travelling and I nearly ended up in Stuttgart, Germany. Thank God I didn't, because I thought this is where I'd find them. This is in relation to Stuttgart in America. So the ducks in Stuttgart, in America, are just crazy clever. I also like, are they spies for like Russia? Are they drones? Are they robots? Who knows? So they wait at the crossings until the light changes. They walk in single file across the streets. They walk confidently into restaurants, cafes, sit on seats like they've got reservations. Some ducks even ride the tram line from one park to another. The Stuttgart community absolutely loves their ducks. They've had a duck festival since 1936, where they imitate duck calls. There's a big competition for that, and it's just a celebration of their ducks since 1936. Ducks here are literally respected citizens, and they have loads of different Instagram accounts. My favourites: Gustav the gossip duck. Gustav the gossip duck. He eavesdrops on benches. Feverance is a Muscovy duck, and he has one foot slightly turned out, kind of like a ballet dancer. There is a rumour that the ducks have an annual conference by the Schoschplatz fountain, but this has not been confirmed or denied. Just once a year, it seems like all the ducks gather by this fountain, and they've just got no idea why it happens. But they're incredibly clever, classy, and just wherever you would expect them not to be. So, unfortunately, through history, ducks have not been as famous or received awards like the bloody pigeons have, but they have been just as important. A lot of this is down to ducks just being tasty, personally, in my personal opinion, whereas pigeons are not. So during World War Two, because ducks have an erratic flight pattern, whereas pigeons kind of don't, but ducks have a very erratic flight pattern that would mimic enemy planes, bombs, whatever. During World War Two, we used ducks as target practice training for fighter pilots and soldiers. So these ducks were not heroic, but they helped us in the war, and they didn't get any medals for it because they were dead. Psychologist B.F. Skinner, who is known for his work on behaviourism and again typically used pigeons in his experiments, but he did use ducks for one. So he helped prove, well, he proved ducks implant on the first moving thing they see. All ducks implant on the first moving thing you see. So if you want a duck to follow you around for the rest of your life, get around there when they're being born, make sure you're the first thing that duck sees, implant you. Well, actually, don't do that, leave it with its mum. But if you did want to do that, that's the way you do it. And there's a really famous picture of him walking with a line of ducklings following behind him because obviously they implanted on him. But yeah, ducks implant on the first thing they see. But this also contributed to how we understand early attachment in animals and possibly humans. Another notable duck is Longboy, and he was the viral Oxford University duck. He's not really historical, but he is kind of notable in internet duck lore, like Trevor, the loneliest duck in the world. We'll touch on him in a sec. So Longboy was a really tall Indian runner duck, possibly the tallest duck ever, and he stood for nearly 3 feet tall, so he nearly looked like a goose in duck's clothing. He was beloved. He had a merch line and he sparked a short-lived student movement to get him an honorary degree. He never got this, and sadly he passed away in 2023. He was an international meme for some time in 2021 to 2023. But yeah, very, kind of notable. Trevor the loneliest duck, not as notable. He just ended up on a random island where there was no ducks and there was no fresh water. People thought he came in a boat or got brought by the winds. He lived there for a year and then he sadly passed away. But Trevor, the loneliest duck in the world, also exists and was a notable duck. So this duck pretty much caused a political crisis in the UK. Well, he didn't, but I'm going to blame him for it anyway. So as you'll remember, in 2009 there was that big MP expenses scandal, and this was probably one of the most ridiculous ones that came out of it. So it went on from between, it was a exposure by the Telegraph or the Daily Observer, someone. They got all the records of MPs' expenses claims between 2008, 2014 or something, and then released it to the public. So this MP, Sir Peter Viggers, remember the name, tried to claim 1,645 in expenses for a floating duck house. This caused an absolute scandal in the House of Commons, but I mean, he wasn't the only one misusing government funds, and to be honest, it's the most sane one that, well, not the most sane one, but the one I agree with the most. This floating duck house became a symbol of the political excess, absurdity, and it kind of lives on as a meme of bureaucratic madness. The duck house itself was actually auctioned off for charity, but there you go. He did, like, the duck house kind of caused a political crisis. In 15th century France, many ducks ended up going to court. So ducks and other animals were occasionally put in trial. There were medieval animal trials where animals were given lawyers, charges, trials, usually for damage or theft. Chickens and ducks were occasionally tried for laying eggs on holy days or damaging property, and most were found guilty. The reason why I think ducks did not get medals like pigeons in wartime was because pigeons were basically ideal wartime messengers. They were lightweight, they were fast, they were able to fly home with coded messages from the front lines. Ducks were tasty. They were also a little bit too noisy, imprecise for covert work. However, they did show up in soldier camps and trenches as mascots, and some were kept for comfort and eggs, but they were just too tasty, unfortunately. Ducks' accents can vary quite quickly. Ducks' accents can vary based on region. It's called vocal dialect variation. So urban ducks might be louder to compete with traffic noise, while rural ducks are chiller and quieter. Ducks kind of work like gorillas, chimpanzees. They have a very strict society structure, pecking order, whatever you want to call it. And they also like a bit of drama in their social hierarchy. So they've been proven to hold grudges, and they will. They will pick on weaker or new ducks. They'll fight over foods or mates, even if there's plenty to go around. And they'll chase off others just because they can. This kind of behaviour looks a lot like petty squabbling in human terms, but it's just the animal world. So female ducks are actually sassier than you think, and there's a lot of research that has shown that female ducks can tell male ducks apart based on the sound of their quacks, and they actually prefer lower pitched voices, so deep voice, sexy duck. They're not interested. So when the females aren't interested in mating, they've been observed faking being asleep or diving underwater to avoid unwanted attention. They basically invented the "I've got a headache" energy. Other research studies have also shown that ducks have cognitive abilities on par with primates in some areas, not all. So, baby ducklings understand the concept of same versus different, and adult ducks can solve problems and plan in basic ways. Ducks, in various research studies, have learned to play fetch, open doors, and use touchscreens in experiments. There are some ducks, and this is particularly in some duck species, so like wood ducks and golden A's, they actually do the brood parasitism. So it's basically where animals lay their eggs in the nest of other animals or even other bird species, so they don't have to raise the ducklings themselves. It's basically the feathery version of sneaking your kid into someone else's daycare, and this is an activity that they do engage in, not all the time, but sometimes. Ducks do not freeze in ice cold water. Their legs and feet have a counter-current heat exchange system. Warm blood flowing down from the body passes by cold blood coming up from the feet, keeping everything warm without wasting any heat. This is why they can stand on frozen ponds for hours, swim in freezing water. Yeah, they're just quite impressive. And to end today's podcast, today's Ducktionary, one last fact for you. Some ducks have up to 15 different vocalizations. These can range for alarm, mating, hunger, greeting, get out of my space, but 15 different vocalizations. So there you have it. Ducks are creatures that we so often overlook, but they carry a whole world of complexity, adaptability, and a wonder beneath their feathers. From imprinting on humans and solving logic puzzles, to surviving freezing waters with beaten hilt exchanges, and even appearing in courtrooms or films, ducks are everything but ordinary. Until next time, stay curious and never underestimate the ordinary. Thanks for listening to me, guys. See you next week.